Oh my goodness, I'm so terrible with technology. I know I should probably do these videos, like record them and then upload them, but I do the live thing because I don't, I'm so terrible at technology. But I really have things I want to just, share. And anyway, so this is a movie review, uh, as opposed to the last two videos today, which were, um, just video vlog rants because I have so much in my mind and I just want to get it expressed. Um, so this movie review is based on a masterpiece movie that I have been thinking about probably almost as long as the movies existed. It came out in 1995, and it feels like I've been thinking about it since then, even though I did not see it in the theater when it was released into the theater. This movie's called Seven, and it is directed by David Fincher. Yeah, I had to delete the other video because I missed some notes, and those notes are important. Sometimes, to do a good movie review, I've got to have the right notes. So, anyway, okay. Directed by David Fincher, it starred Brad Pitt as David Mills, Morgan Freeman as William Somerset, Gwyneth Paltrow as Tracy Mills, and Kevin Spacey as John Doe. So, mm, as a opinion, I will say all four were superb in their performances. I think they could have asked for any better cast. Um, okay, but that's not really what I want to talk about in this movie review. I want to. This movie review is not based on the writing, which was also the writing was Andrew K. Walker was the writer. It's superbly written, but David and Andrew did something here that is so amazing because as a teacher, not a writer, but as a teacher, there was a lot of educational debates going on in regards to whether or not movies should be used for educational purposes. And I think sometimes they should, use movies, not just because a teacher is lazy, but or because the kids that's all they want to do, but because sometimes the movie just does it better. And in this case, this movie is, in my opinion, one of them. Uh, this movie, I was an English teacher, and this movie is a teacher to me. It's a teacher to me. I had many teachers from kindergarten to my high school graduation, and then more in college, and then more not even in school. But this movie is a teacher to me. It is a teacher to me. Okay, not because I want to be a great director like David Fincher, but as a writer and as a human being, this movie teaches me about myself all the time. Um, I was raised Catholic. I've mentioned that, and even in my Catholic school, they call it CCD or preparation for communion and confirmation. Catholics know what I'm talking about. They didn't talk about this. They did not make the references, the allusions, and the specific, education of Thomas Aquinas and Dante. I didn't get that in CCD, and in this movie, in a 2-hour movie, did more for me than 10 classes of CCD. Anyway, so I want to talk about the seven sins though, because recently I had gone to church, the Catholic church, and I was praying a lot. I was doing a lot of praying in and out of church, and I um, was thinking about sins and virtues, sins and virtues. Nobody's perfect. We know this. Only Jesus was perfect, right? Nobody's perfect. But so sometimes we mess up, but sometimes we do really good with our, with our virtue, and then sometimes we're just awful with our sins. And it's funny because I had to do this video over again because I forgot one of the seven deadly sins. I couldn't remember it. Yeah, just couldn't remember it. I'm like, what the heck was it? Sloth. That's the one I couldn't remember. I had them all written down based off memory: wrath, envy, greed, lust, gluttony, pride. I guess I'm guilty of all those six. The one I couldn't remember is the one that I guess I just don't even understand at all. Sloth. What the hell is that? I don't even laziness? Laziness? That makes me wanna crack up. I don't think I don't think I've had a lazy minute of my life. I don't even know what that is. It was funny. I guess I just find that one funny. The other 6, I understand. The other 6 I'm guilty of, but sloth, that's really funny. That one's really funny to me. Um, so I'm gonna talk about the sins and how they were depicted. I'm not really gonna get into the characters too much. David, William, Tracy, and John. I'm not gonna get into those character analysis because I don't feel like shrinkinizing them. I just want to talk about the sins and then also I want to talk about their opposites, the virtues. But when I was looking at the movie and thinking about the sins as they were represented in the movie, uh, I tried to see like how bad am I, you know? So I want to do that. I want to kind of break that down sin by sin. And so, I can maybe call this a confessional or something like that. What are my sins? Confessing my sins. But yeah, I would say I'm guilty of 6 out of 7. I don't, I don't think I'm lazy. I don't. I'm sure somebody does. I'm sure there's somebody out there who thinks I'm lazy, but I can't confess that. So I'm going to start with pride. Some people say vanity is included in that area. Yes, I'm guilty of pride and vanity. I have been proud of people I love. I have been proud of my work, just like John Doe said in the movie. He was proud of his work. I have been proud of accomplishments and acquisitions. I have been vain. Yes, I have been vain. Um, I thought my mother was the most beautiful mother in the world. I thought my son was the most, gorgeous, beautiful son in the world. And I have looked in the mirror and been satisfied with what I saw. Not not without humility though, but I'm not going to talk about the virtue now. Okay. We'll talk about the virtue later. Yes, I am guilty of pride. Okay. How did they show pride in the movie? They showed it through vanity. The woman died because they said they were talking about the deadly. How does a sin become deadly? Why did the woman die from pride? Pride can kill you. In the movie, yes, she was so vain that like see that scar on my nose, or you see a scar there, or she was so vain she couldn't handle the thought of having a scar on her body. She just couldn't imagine herself disfigured or any, which that's very hard for a woman. I think it's very appropriate that they chose a woman to die from that sin, because I think it's harder for women with vanity than it is for men. Some men are vain, so that's what the narcissist conversation was about. But I think mostly women suffer from that because our our value and worth in society has so often been based on relying on a man's generosity, and their generosity only came to us if we were pretty. So to think of us being disfigured or disformed makes us feel like no one would show us love or kindness. So it's harder for a woman. So that woman couldn't even handle the thought of having a scar or some kind of deformity, and she died. And that's how pride and vanity was demonstrated in the film. For me, I mean, of course, as the viewer, you're like, what would I have done? Would I have picked up the phone and she would have lost her nose? She was going to lose her nose. So would I have picked up the phone and gone without a nose? Yes, yes, I would have, because as a Catholic believing in heaven, would have known that if I had gotten to heaven and God asked me, you couldn't go without without a nose. I I wouldn't know what to say to God. I would have been like, yeah, that was kind of stupid, wasn't it? You know what I'm saying? That's a virtue. That's a humility response. Okay, so I mean, yeah, a nose is a good thing to have. I love my nose, but I mean, I really wouldn't know what to say to God if He asked me that. Like, your nose was more important than your life. Well, so anyway, okay, so that was Pride and Vanities demonstration. The next one I'll talk about is gluttony. Yes, I'm guilty of gluttony. Mostly, my gluttony is in my cigarettes and chocolate, or sweets, or coffee. Eating is hard because the representation in the film, and most of us would agree that gluttony is usually demonstrated as obesity. Okay, so obesity is a really tough word for most people to agree on. The doctors have their version of it, the aesthetic people have their version of it, the philosophers have their version of it. Obesity is not the best word in my opinion, to describe what gluttony is. But I'll tell you exactly when I'm being gluttonous. I'll show you what I believe is gluttony. When I'm being gluttonous, I can eat 3 boxes of Malamars. That's gluttony. You know, there's no good reason for that. That's gluttony. Okay, when I smoke 3 packs of cigarettes in one day, that's kind of gluttony. But I mean, yes, it is gluttony. It's gluttonous. It's gluttonous. I don't derive as much pleasure from smoking 3 packs of cigarettes as I do eating 3 boxes of Malamars, but um, it's gluttonous behavior. But I don't think that this is really my gluttony. It's more like the Malamars is more like my gluttony. This is more like why I couldn't remember sloth, because between this and coffee is why I have nothing to do with sloth. Okay, but anyway, we'll get to that. Um, in the movie, it is a very, 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 very overweight man. He's probably someone that you would have seen on My 600 Pound Life, or the Biggest Loser kind of thing. That's how gluttony is shown in the movie, and it's sad. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen any of those shows where someone's so large that they can't get out of their chair, or they can't wipe themselves clean in the bathroom. They struggle just to get out of the bed or into the shower. That's how big they are. That they have that. It's almost a disability at that point. I mean, and it's a disability caused from gluttony, gluttonous behaviors. Um, People are quick to judge those who drink or do drugs or smoke, but they always forget that food is 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 what happens to people with addictive personalities. If they're not allowed to drink or smoke or do something else, they'll turn to food, and that addiction will go all into the food, and that's what happens. They will become 600 pounds and basically kill themselves with gluttony. Um, so I'll go to the next one, which is lust. Now, I want to say something about lust, because everybody thinks that, if you watch porno or if you are promiscuous, that you have a problem with lust. And I don't think that that's accurate. I think lust is to sex what gluttony is to food. If you can't get through a single day without thinking about sex or having sex, you can't get through one day without, a sex sandwich. I mean, if you can't get through one day, then you're struggling with lust. I mean, it's like alcoholism. An alcoholic can't make it through one day without a drink. They have to have a drink. I'm a smoker. See, I can't make it through one day without a sick. Well, yeah, if I'm confined and there's no access, yeah, I can make it, like rehab. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I can make it. physiologically and biologically I can make it, but mentally, if I have the choice to do it or don't do it, I can't do it. I cannot say no if I have the choice to do it. You see? And that's the same thing with lust. If you can't say no, you have a problem with lust. That's your deadly sin if you don't know how to say no. Okay. And it was demonstrated with in it's sort of like a in the movie. It was sort of demonstrated like with a whorehouse or something. I'm not really sure. Um, it was kind of a confusing scene. So if you've seen the movie, maybe you can think about how lust was demonstrated in the film. Or I'm not I'm not really sure. It was kind of a complicated, confusing scene. So I didn't really understand, what Mr. Fincher was trying to do with that sin in that scene. It was kind of confusing to me in the movie, but I do know what the sin means. Okay. The next one I'll talk about is greed. Um, and I think greed is one of those things that it's definitely a sin when it becomes the most important thing. Um, and yet, for our civilization, we all need a little bit of it at least. We need to have a little bit of that in us, a little bit. I mean, it's like one sin, it's like pride. It's like you should have some pride and you should have some greed, just to try to, keep going with what we know as normal. Right? An absolute absence of greed and pride, I don't think would be a good thing, even though they're considered sins. Um, Greed was depicted with the lawyer. And I guess he had a lot of enemies, because he must have either defended, really bad people, or I don't know what he did. I mean, they never really tell us what the lawyer did that was hated so much, but he must have been a really, either a really great lawyer who helped a lot of bad people, or a really greedy person who took the money and didn't help others. I really don't know. We don't know the lawyer's story. We just know that whew, he was tortured. Boy, was he tortured. He was really tortured for the sin of greed. Uh, okay. The next one, oh, as far as my specific relation to greed, hmm, I didn't suffer as much as the lawyer did in the movie, but I'll say that I have tortured myself for my ambitions and my hopes that I put into greed for, I don't know, I still don't know if it was for the right or wrong reasons, but I know that greed hurt me even more than pride. So kind of sketchy about greed. I saw this little video on YouTube. Some chick was really proud to be a gold digger. She's like, "Of course I'm a gold digger. Why would I want to go, scrape off scum of the earth from the sidewalk?" I don't want to tell you how much I could laugh at that statement. I really don't want to tell you how much I could laugh at that statement, but I'm not saying that, it's as a cliche, it's not stupid, or it's not stupid, to be a gold digger in a way, but her statement was stupid. And I uh, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it right now. It's just I can't like talk about that right now, because she's she's not wrong, but her statement is so wrong that it's hilarious. Okay, so anyway, envy is the next sin that I would talk about. And I had written a poem, or many poems, about jealousy and envy. I've covered this subject a lot, actually, because of the sins. I think I did relate to John Doe in the movie when he said, "That's my sin." Like that's what I'm guilty of: envy and jealousy. And I think everyone is. That's what's interesting about his name being John Doe. We never really have any other name for him. I think everybody's guilty of that sin. It doesn't matter how hard you try to be virtuous and not be jealous or envious. It happens. And then this is why, the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not covet, is so impossible, because it's envy and jealousy. It's not a plan. You don't plan to be envious. You don't plan to be jealous. It's not a plan. It just happens. It's a feeling. So when God says, don't be envious, that's like God telling us what? Not to breathe, not to feel an emotion. It's not a fair request. God wasn't being fair in the 10 Commandments with the coveting thing. And I can understand, you know, don't go on a killing spree. Okay, I can understand that, but the envy jealousy thing is not a fair request, because that is an emotion that is uncontrollable at times. It's a feeling that happens. You know, if someone smacks me, did I feel that? Yeah, I felt it. Oh, what am I supposed to say? Like, I didn't feel that? So, you know, that's a complicated one. It was shown in the movie with John Doe's character. That was his motivation for the whole serial killing that he was doing. It was because he was motivated by envy and jealousy. Okay, and final. Oh no, there's two more. Sloth. So let me go to sloth. This one cracks me up. Laziness. I don't even remember it in the movie. This is like how far away this sin is from my brain. Like sloth. I don't remember what it was in the movie. I couldn't even remember it when I was making my notes. And it means laziness, indolence, and laziness. I I don't even know what to say about that one. Honestly, I have nothing. I've got nothing to say. I have nothing about the movie to say about it, and nothing to say in my personal life about it. I don't even know. I'm completely clueless when it comes to sloth. I don't know what the heck that means. You tell me. Um, okay, so moving on, we'll go to the last one is wrath and or anger and wrath. There's degrees of there's mad, angry, furious, and wrath. Wrath is being the deadly sin. I mean, you can get angry and it's not deadly. Like, if I go, you're a fucking asshole, I'm angry, but that's not wrath. Wrath is like vengeance. Like, you smacked me, I'm going to take off all your legs. You know what I mean? That's wrath. That's a whole different. It's vengeance. And it was depicted correct. At first, I thought it wasn't depicted correctly in the film. I thought that's wrath, but it was. It was depicted correctly in the film. It just wasn't passionately. What it wasn't like a passionate display. It was so I didn't think it was depicted correctly, but it is actually depicted correctly. And Brad Pitt was the one who suffered from it, and he didn't actually die though, but in a way he did. He didn't like physically die, but he was going to go. He lost everything. He lost his wife, his career, and he was probably going to be in jail for a very long time. So in a way, he died. Um, it was a sad part. Uh, but anyway, I just say that for the seven sins, I mean, we all go through it. And when does it become deadly? You know, I mean, pride doesn't have to be deadly. Laziness, sloth doesn't have to be deadly. Gluttony, okay, if you have a box of Twinkies on Tuesday, but then you drink water for 3 days and fast or whatever, you can balance it out. Lust, I mean, a little nookie here and there shouldn't kill you. Greed, I mean, like I said, I actually think greed might be a little bit good, not to be completely without it, because that's makes everything sort of nonsensible. And then envy, I think everyone's guilty of it. I just don't think that there's a way to avoid it. It happens. It's like breathing or going to the bathroom. I mean, it could be deadly though. Yeah, it could be deadly. I mean, not just because you're going to be like John Doe, some serial killer, but if somebody cheats on you and you decide to, kill both lovers because you're in some wrathful jealousy, then it could be deadly. You see, could be deadly. Uh, Anyway, now the virtues. I just want to mention the virtues because they weren't talked about at all in the movie, and I think some people who might enjoy this masterpiece as much as me as a teaching tool or an educational piece, um, oh, for references like Thomas Aquinas and Dante, they're great references. But I think that the virtues should have at least been mentioned somewhere, even if it was brief, because there are also virtues that can help people in trying to understand, you know, sins and virtues and how to think about those things in your mind. So the virtues include humility, which would help you, calm pride down, charity, which would help you calm greed down, chastity, which would help you calm lust down, gratitude, which would help you calm envy down, patience, which would help you calm, which one? I guess that would be wrath, right? Yeah, calm wrath down, patience, diligence, which would help you not be lazy or slothful, and then temperance, which would be the, I guess that'd be like the something to greed, something like that. So anyway, those are the virtues, and anyway, I think it's a masterpiece film. I know it came out in 1995, which was a long time ago, but those actors were perfect. The director was perfect. The writer was perfect. The whole thing is perfect in my opinion. And if anybody's aspiring to put out educational materials or fine art, I would definitely recommend this film to begin with.